Hello and good morning. It's another morning at the Stick Marsh. Heather and I are here again. She's going to be using the R7 and the 100 to 500, and I'll be using the Nikon Z8. And the 100 to 400 has proven to be the best lens to use here. Sun's just starting to come up behind me, and some people have put some sticks out, and the birds are coming, so we're pretty excited. Also, right beside where we sit here is an airboat launch, and I saw an airboat take off this morning, which was kind of interesting. Well, it was quite a morning. We got lots of shots. Here's my first one. Started shooting really early when it was very dark still. This is 1/800th of a second f5, and my ISO is 11,400, but the birds were coming in, so I just went ahead and started shooting. This is 195 millimeters of a spoonbill coming in to get a stick. Here is another spoonbill coming in to get a stick. This one, the ISO is down to only 10,000. This is 1/800th of a second f5 and 260 millimeters. Here's another early morning spoonbill shot. On this one, the ISO is up to 12,800. This is 1/800th of a second, 400 millimeters, and the aperture is wide open at f5.6, coming right at us. Here's an orchestra conductor almost crossing the feathers. First time I ever saw one of these birds cross its wing tips when it's coming in for a landing is in an Arthur Morris video. This is 400 millimeters f5.6, 1/800th of a second, and 8,000 ISO. Of course, I wish I was using a faster shutter speed, but I felt like that was all I could get away with when it was so dark. Here's another inbound bird, 400 millimeters f5.6, 1/1000th of a second, and 9,000 ISO. Getting a little bit brighter now. It's 250 millimeters f5. This is 1/1000th of a second and only 5,600 ISO. I like it when you can see the water in the background. The place we were sitting today didn't allow that all that much. A lot of times there was the vegetation that the airboat drove through on the way out to the open water ended up being in the background of a lot of our shots today. This is an example of that. 270 millimeters, 1/1000th of a second, wide open at 5.3 and ISO 4,500. Here's a landing shot with another spoonbill in the background, and the one in the background is looking for a stick for its nest, and soon this one that landed will be doing the same. 240 millimeters wide open at f5, 1/1000th of a second, and 4,000 ISO. Here's another bird coming in for a landing and putting on the brakes, 1/1000th of a second, 260 millimeters f5, 4,000 ISO. I like the eye in this particular shot. And on this one, I like the wing position. I love it when their wings are all the way stretched out and flying towards you, and you can see the wings really nicely. This is 340 millimeters, 1/1000th of a second, f5.3, and 4,000 ISO. Here is an orchestra conductor wing position shot, and the eye is really good in this particular one. 400 millimeters, wide open at 5.6, 1/1000th of a second, and 6,400 ISO. Here's another shot of the same bird with the wingtips almost touching. 400 millimeters f5.6, 1/1000th of a second, 6,400 ISO. Here's another bird coming in, 250 millimeters f5, 1/1000th of a second, and 3,600 ISO. The stick marsh will spoil you because the birds fly right towards you and land, and you get all these wonderful wing positions. Here's a beautiful boat-tail grackle on the guardrail that keeps the airboat ramp separate from the spot where people sit and make photographs of these birds. This is 400 millimeters, f5.6. I slowed my shutter speed down to 1/250th of a second for this perched bird, and my ISO is 1,000 even. Back to birds in flight now, and look, the sun has come up enough to put bright sun on these birds. Now my shutter speed's all the way up to 1/2500th of a second. This is 400 millimeters wide open at 5.6, and my ISO is 1250. Here's another 400 millimeter shot wide open at 5.6. Now my shutter speed's up to 1/3200th of a second, and my ISO is only 900 on this shot. And there's a kayaker in the background, kind of out of focus, but you can see them. They were there to photograph the birds as well. Here's another landing shot, 260 millimeters wide open at f5, 1/3200th of a second, and my ISO is 720, and I really like the way the eye looks in this shot. Pretty nice indeed. This is an unusual looking bird, 290 millimeters wide open at 5.3, 1/3200th of a second, and ISO 560. I like the open beak here and the shadow of the open beak on the wing. This particular bird has beautiful eyes, and this is a 310 millimeter shot at 1/3200th of a second, wide open at 5.3, 800 ISO. Very nice eye on this bird. This is probably that same bird getting a little closer to landing, 310 millimeters, 1/3200th of a second, wide open at 5.3 and 800 ISO. I like the wing position. Here's a 400 millimeter shot at f5.6. This is 1/3200th of a second and ISO 720. The harsh light was a little bit tricky because this area right here, you have to be careful not to overexpose this brightest area on the bird. I did a fairly good job with that, but occasionally I overexposed one and had to adjust. I think I was shooting at minus 2/3 of a stop in terms of exposure compensation. Here's an in-flight shot that I was really happy with. This is 400 millimeters wide open at 5.6, 1/3200th of a second, and only 200 ISO. Really great sun angle on this bird. There's almost no shadows at all, except for maybe right here, which probably can't be helped. A lot of resolution on this shot too with the 45 megapixel Z8. And here's another landing shot at 250 millimeters wide open at f5, 1/3200th of a second, and ISO 720. Another landing shot. This one's almost on the ground with a couple of birds in the background that are already there and looking for sticks. Another shot where I'm pretty close to overexposing right here, but it's not overexposed, thankfully. This shot, I'm probably even closer to overexposing this area, but believe it or not, there's no blinkies right there. This is 400 millimeters f5.6, 1/3200th of a second, and ISO 720. This is a interesting wing position. As the bird's bringing its wings back out, it kind of folds them in a little bit. And this is 400 millimeters f5.6, 1/3200th of a second, and 800 ISO. There's another landing bird coming from the other direction. I kind of like the shadow of the head and bill on the wing there. And this is 200 millimeters wide open at f5, 1/3200th of a second, and ISO 400. I think I was shooting at 12 frames per second this morning, and this is 3 shots later of the same bird coming in. This is 200 millimeters f5, 1/3200th of a second, and ISO 360, again with the shadow on the wing. 2 shots, both with the same shadow on the wing of the same bird coming in, just a fraction of a second apart. Here's another bird coming in from the other direction, 280 millimeters, f5.3, 1/3200th of a second, and 560 ISO on this one. This is 7 shots later, probably the same bird as it's touching down, and I thought it was interesting that it's kicking up some water on the grass as it lands. Their color really pops in this early morning sunshine. Another spoonbill coming in for a landing, 310 millimeters f5.3, 1/3200th of a second. The Z8 and the 100-400 are a great combo for the Stick Marsh. Just about to touch down is this spoonbill. This is only 180 millimeters, 1/3200th of a second, wide open at 4.8 and ISO 500. Here's another one. You can get just tons and tons of great shots at the Stick Marsh. It's really amazing. I'm going to be so spoiled when I'm back in Tennessee doing bird photography and I see a bird about every 30 minutes. This is 400 millimeters f5.6, 1/3200th of a second, and ISO 720. Of course, back home in Tennessee, I won't see any spoonbills. You pretty much have to go to Florida to see these, or there's maybe another place to see them, but I don't know where that is. This is 400 millimeters f5.6, 1/3200th of a second, and ISO 640. And here's a spoonbill on the ground. I actually went and got some sticks myself and brought them out. They had gone to another area that was a little further away than I wanted to walk with Heather, so I tried to bring them back to the area where we were, and eventually it worked. And here's a spoonbill just about to pick up a big stick and try to take it to the nest. This is 310 millimeters, 1/3200th of a second. You would think with the bird on the ground, I might have slowed my shutter speed down, but even this shot is only 400 ISO. This is wide open at 5.3, And that 100 to 400 is plenty sharp. Don't let anybody tell you it's not. Love this landing shot, especially the eyes on this bird, because even though this eye is on the far side, it's still pretty clearly visible. So I'm a fan of that. This is 250 millimeters, wide open at f5, 1/3200th of a second, and 400 ISO. This is my last shot of the morning before I'll start showing you Heather's in just a few minutes. This is a limpkin, and there was one there the day or so ago when we were there, but I didn't get a shot of it. Heather did. And then all of a sudden it flew by, so I bagged a shot. This is 400 millimeters, f5.6, 1/3200th of a second, and 500 ISO. And I kind of like the background in this one with some water and then some land and more water and more land. Lots of layers. Before we look at Heather's photos, I thought I would share just a few video clips I made. These are 120 frames per second in-flight shots of some of these spoonbills there at the Stick Marsh. And I slowed these down to 20% speed for use in the video so you can see how beautiful and graceful these are as they fly around there at the Stick Marsh. Just really cool to be able to use the Z8 and the 100 to 400 to successfully make video at super slow-mo of these beautiful birds in flight right there at the Stick Marsh. What a beautiful bird. And we had great light this morning. And I've been using the new firmware where I've been using shutter angle instead of shutter speed. And all of this is at 180 degrees on the Z8. Here are Heather's shots from the Stick Marsh on this shoot. And she waited. She did not shoot when it was too dark to shoot like I did, so she doesn't have any ridiculous ISO shots. Here's her first shot, and it's 1/2500th of a second, 145 millimeters wide open at 4.5 and only 400 ISO. Nice shot, Heather. All of Heather's shots are with the Canon R7 and the RF 100 to 500 millimeter lens. Here's one at 145 millimeters, 1/2500th of a second, f4.5, and ISO 500 of this bird coming in for landing with the orchestra conductor wing position. And here's another one with maybe even a better look at the orchestra conductor wing position. Another shot at 145 millimeters, f4.5, 1/2500th of a second, and 500 ISO. Touching down now is this spoonbill with another spoonbill to its side there looking for sticks to carry to their nest. 145 millimeters, f4.5, 1/2500th of a second, and 500 ISO. This is a nice shot here of the orchestra conductor wing positioned spoonbill coming in for a landing. Another shot at 145 millimeters, 1/2500th of a second, wide open at 4.5, and only 320 ISO on this shot. Just about to touch down. Love the wing position on this one. It's another shot at 145 millimeters, 1/2500th of a second, wide open at 4.5 and 400 ISO. And look at this guy in the background going, "Are you going to get the stick I was thinking about?" This is probably my favorite shot of Heather's right here. Another shot at 145 millimeters. I love that wing position. It's probably my favorite. f4.5, 1/2500th of a second, and 320 ISO. Looks like there's a purple flower here as well. These next two shots are sequential, and it's one spoonbill on the ground looking for sticks and another about to land. And what I like about these two is they're on the same plane, so both of their eyes are sharp. It's another shot at 145 millimeters and 1/2500th of a second, ISO 320, wide open at 4.5. And this one is the exact same settings. This is the next shot in the sequence. So this shot was followed immediately by this shot. And I like this second one the best, but I like both of them. It's like both of my favorite wing positions. Here's the orchestra conductor, and here's the wings wide. Really cool. Here's another orchestra conductor shot coming from the other direction. She's still at 145 millimeters. She found out that that worked for her pretty good, and she just stayed there. 1/2500th of a second, f4.5, and ISO 320. I like the blue watery background in this one. The water is not that color. It's reflecting the blue sky. This is 1/3200th of a second. She sped up her shutter speed a little bit, still at 145 millimeters, wide open at 4.5, and her ISO is 400 on this one. Great sun angle on this shot, almost no shadows whatsoever, maybe just a little bit of shadow from the neck and the bill, but man, wow, what a great sun angle shot she's got right here. Still at 145 millimeters f 4.5, 1/3200th of a second, and ISO 250. This bird is on the ground and walking along. I don't know if it's just landed or just about to take off, but either way, it's pretty cool looking. Just amazing colors on these birds. 145 millimeters, 1/3200th of a second, f 4.5, and 320 ISO. Wow, look at this one. This may be my new favorite of Heather's on this day. Coming right at us, got the orchestra conductor wing position. You can see both eyes nice and clearly. This is another shot at 145 millimeters, f 4.5, 1/5000th of a second. She's increased her shutter speed to 1/5000th and 500 ISO. I don't think I ever went above 3200 on this day, but she was able to, shooting at only f 4.5, she was able to use 1/5000th and keep her ISO nice and low. It was a wonderful morning here at the Stick Marsh. Really enjoyed it. Such a beautiful place, and it's wonderful the way the birds just fly right into you. They were kind of going to a different area, and I went and got some sticks. I walked over to the other side of the parking lot and broke off some dead sticks and set it down, and they started coming back over and they got a lot of my sticks, so that was fun. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, take a second, hit the thumbs up button. If you want to see some more stuff like this, subscribe and hit the bell. And as always, I look forward to seeing you hopefully in my next video. Bye-bye.